hier nicht. Die nächsten Charts in 40 Minuten.
I love radio.
Y no te voy a negar.
Solo te quiero lejos de mí. Sé que no sabes de mí y no te puedo mentir. Lo que dicen en la calle sobre mí.
Y no te voy a negar. Que aquello te agarre, baby. Sos en el cuello para calmar la sed. Mano en tu cadera para empezar como es. No le vamos a bajar más nunca más. Baila, cata, como ella lo mueve. Para, no de comerte. Por eso más fuerte quiero tenerte. Y no te voy a negar. Sí, papi, Nicky, la industria.
Pero suéltate, pasemos parte. Cuando tenemos y te quito el estrés, dale otra vez.
Y no te voy a negar. Y no te voy a negar. Besos en el cuello para calmar la sed. Mano en tu cadera para empezar como es. No le vamos a bajar más nunca más. Baila, placata, como ella lo mueve. Sin parar, no de comerte. Por eso más fuerte quiero tenerte. Y no te voy a negar.
Lo que hizo de ti, mami, no es normal. Pero no te preocupes que soy anormal. Sé que tus amigas no les debemos gustar. Pero ven y cuéntale, hacemos parte. Como tenemos, si te quito el estrés, dale otra vez.
Y no te voy a negar. Sí, papi, Nicky, la industria.
Pero suéltate, hacemos parte. Cuando tenemos, si te quito el estrés, dale otra vez.
Y no te voy a negar. Y no te voy a negar.
sitting in the sun. I wanna be a chapter in your book of love.
Don't you worry, oh child, I know you'll be okay now. No, you won't get this life again, yeah. Oh child, oh child. Oh child, oh child, I know you'll be okay now. No, you won't get this life again. Perderás la fe, pero no lo tomes personal, ya sabrás en qué creer. Oh child, maybe you can find love with a husband or a wife. If you're happy when the road is getting rough, I'll be happy to by your side. And I know that I can't pretend that I haven't hid my regrets, from the memories that I kept to the history I forget.
Hello. Wow, we got a crowd. And people can hear me? Excellent.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I hear yes.
All right. Good. Hello, Debbie Baskerville. All right, Zola, you ready to roll?
All right. Hello, good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or evening, or whatever time it is where you're at. I'm so glad you're able to join us today for this town hall. Let's get started. Let me just give you a brief overview of sort of how today will be going agenda-wise. Obviously, earlier this month, we invited a bunch of everybody in the Second Life community to submit their questions ahead of time for this town hall. And we received quite a few questions, I think about 75, somewhere around that neighborhood. And we've selected a bunch of those for Ebbe to talk to today. Obviously, there's not going to be enough time for us to address every question that was submitted, but we will have an opportunity near the end of this session today for some open questions. But we ask that you hold your comments and additional questions until then. So we'll let you know when we open that up. And please mute your microphones until that portion of the program. Additionally, a lot of the questions that we do not get to today will be addressed by other Linden staff in that original forum thread. So we'll try to get to as many of those questions as we can. And then we're going to start off this morning with a brief opening statement from Ebbe, and then we'll jump into the submitted questions before going to our open Q&A portion. So thanks for joining us again, and thanks, Ebbe, for being here. And with that, let me hand things over to you.
Well, thank you, Zola. I have a little bit of a messed up voice, so I hope I can carry on through all the way. But pleasure to be here again. Enjoy getting a chance to talk with you. Look forward to some questions at the end if we have time as well. This is obviously a incredibly exciting year for us. 15 years, a huge roadmap, lots of investments going on, growing the team, and just seeing a lot of really positive things in the business. And so we're very encouraged and optimistic, and just love all the things that you all do inside of Second Life, and look forward to being on this journey with you guys for a long, long, long time to come. So we're still just getting started here. We announced early this year a very aggressive roadmap with a lot of work. We knew from the beginning that it was probably more than we could achieve, but hiring people, and we've been working really, really hard to try and accomplish everything set out as a goal to get accomplished this year. And so I'll touch a bit on sort of our progress against all this work. And some things that you've already noticed, we promised that we would what we call adjust the economy, trying to reduce the cost of land, and at the same time find other ways of monetizing the business so that it's can be successful for us as well as you all in the optimum way possible. We felt that land has been too expensive for a long time, and we feel that there are other opportunities to monetize that would create a more fair, balanced economic model for all of us. Which means some things will get more expensive for some people and some things will get less expensive for people as we adjust things. But like what we've seen so far, especially from lowering the mainland cost and doubling the tier over there, Patch's team has been stopped trying to keep up with the acquire land and change land or increase their land holdings over there. Still a big backlog for Patch's team to get response to that has been absolutely great. Also said we wanted to do some exclusive games and experience, and the next one is only away, so stuff coming. We mentioned we wanted to do some more vertically specific chopped voice I hear on this chat here. Let's hope it solidifies. So sorry if it's not coming through clear. We wanted to do more vertically specific customer acquisition with themed learning islands, and we've run a number of tests, romance, sci-fi, pets, and even more specific, and I think we'll touch on that a little bit later. And we continue to do those tests to optimize customer acquisition campaigns. Marketplace improvements, we're starting to see some nice improvements coming in now. Thanks to a great hire, we have getting more traction there now than we had been, or to come. Auctions, we kind of got out, but then we had to sort of fix some things, so it's still a bit more work to do before we completely roll it out, including allowing resident-to-resident auctions. It's around the corner. And we've done some good improvements to performance, and more of that is coming as well. Other things are getting much closer. Animesh is really right around the corner. It's a grid wide on the server side, and now we just need to get it rolled out in clients or in viewers. From what I understand, it's just a few blocker bugs away from, and that is true for environment enhancements as well. Which allow you to have more control over the environment and time, etc., on your parcels and regions, and that is within weeks, I think. Bakes on Mesh is also having good progress. It'll follow environment enhancements by a bit, so maybe in the next couple of months or so, I hope. I mentioned there will be more marketplace improvements, and we'll touch on that a bit. Questions specific to that? More value for premium members. Yes, we are. We don't have any announcements to make with regards to what types of packages, what types of pricing there will be for premium members, but the team is working really hard to get a more valuable structure, provide even more value to premium members. Return of last names, I know that is probably the most frequently asked questions as to when we'll get that, and maybe we'll get that done this year, but there's a lot of nooks and crannies that has to be touched to have that not break stuff, so we'll see if we can get that done this year, but team is on it. Grid-wide experiences, not sure if we'll get to that one this year, but again, being worked on. Patch and his team are cranking really hard on Linden home improvements, and they whether we release those all at once or in stages, but we hope to be able to start releasing some of those homes later this year as well. And then there's the migration to the cloud. This definitely will not be completed this year. It's a huge task that will be completed sometime next year, well into next year. But we are moving services by services and systems by systems from our proprietary infrastructure to cloud infrastructure, which will open up all kinds of opportunities. But so that is a huge effort, and it'll just take time. So So there have been a lot of questions around these things, and we'll get to those below. And again, just super excited about the progress. Fantastic team, extremely dedicated. It's a growing team. Continue to hire more engineers, and we love the response we've seen from the community for some of the changes we made, whether it's pricing or features. And so we're just very optimistic and excited about years to come.
Awesome. Thanks, Ebbe. It's a lot of stuff. It's pretty exciting. With that said, though, we'll hop into some of the questions that we received via the forums. As a quick reminder, everybody, please, those of you who have joined us since we started, please keep your microphones muted. And then when we get to the end and open up to open Q&A, then we'll be able to put voice on for all of you again. So here are some of the questions that we received. I will try to attribute the names of the residents who asked them. However, again, there were a lot of questions. We got a lot of questions around the same features, and so we'll definitely try to get through as many of these as we can this morning. And the first one is, of course, one of the biggest curiosities about last names. And Vanity Fair asked, when will Second Life Premium users be able to select a new first name, last name combination?
Well, first, like I said earlier, we have to fix a lot of spots that have assumptions that names do not change, from stuff in Marketplace to the viewers to the server side. So there's just, when you don't allow for that flexibility, then over time a lot of places in your code can make the assumption that those things will not change, and things would break if we enable that without fixing those spots to be able to handle it's changing over time. So it's quite a bit of substantial changes to make changes in places like Marketplace and Profiles, etc. And so we don't really have an exact date or time. Sure, we'll announce it once we know certainty. The goal has been to get it done this year. I think that will be a stretch, but maybe if we're lucky, things will fall into place and that could happen. So, but it's a priority, and teams are working on fixing these sort of base set of things in the platform to enable us to changes.
Great. Yes, and we will probably touch on some of the things already mentioned in the opening and maybe just dive a little bit deeper into them for those of you who were mentioning that was answered briefly earlier. For that, there actually were a lot of questions about specifics, which I think we can probably address in the forum thread. We do know that people are very curious about exactly how that how the last names thing is going to work and exactly what they'll be able to select, et cetera, et cetera. So look for the more answers to those questions in the forum thread after the town hall wraps. Like I said, we'll have some additional Linden answering as many of those questions as we can. Yes,
yeah, there's some basics we can speak to. So the plan is that there will be a list of names that will change from time to time. Existing names will be a way for users to nominate new names, swap things out over time. Yeah, I think, and yeah, someone asked if they can return to a previous name, and yes. Oh, you can go to a new name or back to a previous name you've had. No one else can take your previous name, so it's kind of once used. The only one that can ever use it again is the person that used it in the first place. So, but more on this will come as we get closer to actually being able to roll it out, which is still many, many months away.
All right. Next question is about bakes on mesh, which is another, I know, thing that people have been looking forward to finding out more information. Aliona Sue asks, is there any timeline on when that will be released? I'd love to use some of those 10 years worth of my old system layers type clothing and stuff on my meshy self rather than using pliers over and over.
Yeah, there will be the opportunity to create much more efficient content thanks to this bakes on mesh. And from what I understand, the development's progressing well. Like I said earlier, it should follow EAP or environment enhancements. So this one is something will be out this year. So it's not too far away. So exciting. I think there's decent confidence that we'll get it out before Christmas.
Awesome. Next, we have some questions around land pricing. Also, another hot topic. Let's see here. Let's go. There's a question here from Dunsmore. It's kind of a three-pronged question, so I'll try to get to each of these real quick here. Let's see. With regard to the new tiers for Sims, actually regions, we'll say, private region owners that did the buy down for their region, they feel like they've gotten a raw deal. Not only has, this is the question here, not only has LL lowered the price going through them, but left the transfer fee the same for buy down regions at the 600 USD. So I think the question is that they wanted a little bit of a better understanding, maybe of how the thought process was on this lower or this reduction on the regions that we've.
Yeah, I mean this pricing model is kind of optimized for someone who know for sure that they're in a certain time period that some of these upfront payments, they know that they will have basically a lower monthly rate over time as long as they keep the land a certain period. So the buy down was paid off in 6 months. So anyone that bought down and has kept their land for more than 6 months has already benefited from that, are now at a lower ongoing rate. Yeah, it is $600 if you want to transfer a grandfathered or bought down / grandfathered land. It's $100 otherwise for sort of retail priced land. Again, if someone is planning to keep their land for a long period of time, then it's worth it to do that transfer fee. Because after a certain number of months, you're coming up ahead on total cost. You can sell grandfather land at $100 transaction fee as well, but then it converts to standard retail per monthly fee ongoing basis for that land. So you don't have to keep the grandfathered status of it if you'd rather sell it at a lower transaction fee to someone who wants to just receive it as just retail at retail pricing on a go-forward basis. As we continue to lower prices for land in general, and we don't have specifics to announce yet. We're still absorbing the data and the information from the land and other fee changes we did earlier so far this year, and we want to make sure that some of those things stabilize so that we can really tell what changes have what impact. We change too many things too rapidly. It gets really hard to understand sort of what the economic impact is, and so sort of step by step. But yeah, our goal is still to find ways to lower land. I still think it makes sense for people who are willing to commit themselves more long term to be able to get a price. They may have to pay more up front. I mean, that's a fairly normal thing in business. I want to do longer commitments and to get a lower rate, but an upfront fee for that commitment. And as these prices change, the difference between the different pricing models might not be constant. I mean, there will be. So, for example, now, as mentioned, grandfather prices are not as much cheaper as they used to be versus retail, but they're still cheaper. And so I think it's going to be impossible to lower everything at some sort of constant rate where everything still has the same advantages exactly. What we did sure is that there's still an advantage to having bought down or pricing.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. A follow-up question on land comes from Palisade Coronet. And I know you touched a little bit on this in your answer there, but their question is, will there be any reduction in land prices or further increases in, this is the part that I don't think we talked about, in prim allowances for mainland or for private island owners?
Yeah, like I said, we obviously want to do both of those. When and how much is still undecided. But we do have the general belief that over time you want to continue to look at this. But to be able to run a healthy business, we then at times have to find other places to make up that difference. Other fees, whether it's transaction fees or cash out fees, have you. So, or a more efficient or more popular subscription program, etc. So there's lots of variables, but the goal is to lower land prices further over time, and if we can also increase premium allowance, which has depends on performance improvements we can make, hardware improvements we can make to allow for better premium allowance without causing serious performance issues, then happy to.
All right. Our next questions, we had a bunch of questions about the migration to the cloud, and let's see. We'll jump in right here with Sarah Kinth's question, which is, they had heard something about Second Life servers moving onto the cloud. Yeah, that's definitely been a conversation. If this is true, I was curious if this was something we might see in the future, or if you guys are working on stability.
Well, it's a long process to shift our entire infrastructure from our proprietary hosted solution to a third-party cloud solution. Kind of a lot of services have certain assumptions about the infrastructure it's running on, and those have to be sorted out step by step. We have to get to a more current version of the OS that our simulators are running on, and that takes quite a bit of effort because every time we do those upgrades, there's stuff that breaks or changes that we have to adjust to. There's the whole deployment process of operational aspects of running the whole structure 7 that has to change because of the structure we're running. So this is a huge effort. It will take us well into next year, but it's a very high priority. Do not want to have to capitalize a lot of the infrastructure we have in our current mission. So by going to the cloud, all kinds of neat opportunities over time for us to take advantage of. It's better our hardware, other services, geographic distribution. There are all kinds of things that will sort of follow on to this. So this is, if nothing else, a huge indicator of our serious long-term commitment to Second Life because this is a very, very large undertaking and not something we would commit to or do if we very, very extreme long-term plans for Second Life. So we're willing to pay the price for this migration because we believe it's going to be best interest for all parties involved. But it's, that means there's a lot of other features we can't get to that we would like to do because this is a lot of work just to kind of get the same thing going in a new place. But it's going to be worth it, and forward to it, and the team is working hard on it.
All right. Somebody had a question about actually with Second Life moving to the cloud. This is from King Arwen. Can we expect you will make the waters of the grid on demand so that we can sail from region to region, or maybe even put up trees on abandoned land that only pop up when someone enters that region?
I don't think we can really afford to make all blank space on the map to be filled with open water sims, and some private island owners might not want us to. Whether or not we can sort of improve the connectivity and area available existing continent is something we can get when we better handle on how it's out. So it's anything specific to this, but hopefully there's some improvements we can make, but don't expect some sort of grid-wide waterway. That would be quite substantial.
All right. Now, I guess the next topic that we got quite a few questions around was Linden Homes. And Marth Coberts asked, I think, one of the questions that's on a lot of people's minds. Just generally, is there any update on the new Linden Homes that's 100% official and able to be shared, as well as sort of a guesstimated ETA?
I don't have an official date. But we're working very hard on it. Patch's team is cranking, and you'll have to see what you can tease away from Patch over time to get more details. But it's a very large project. I don't think they've even decided yet on how much of it will be done in stages versus sort of all at once, but it's an enormous project, and we're very excited about it. Yeah, Patch and his team are all over it, and I hope some of it will start to reveal itself, before the end of the year. But I think it'll be a squeeze because it's a very large project.
All right. Well, the other question that we had was from Shig Aeon, but I believe that Grumpity just answered that in chat, and that was, what does SSP stand for?
Super slippery plesiosaur?
Promises?
Plesios? I don't know what a plesiosaur is. Is that a dinosaur that pleases you? I don't know. I think the team's having fun there.
All right. Question about premium membership. Phantom Pixel asked, when are the new tiers of premium being released, and can you reveal any further details about them, such as what the different tiers of premium will offer and what they may list?
We're not ready yet to reveal specifics. It's being worked on. Again, another one I hope we can roll out before the end of the year if things go well. Ultimately, the goal is to create more value, to get more people to be motivated to premium member. And but how many tiers, what price points, what exact benefits go into each of those. That is still being juggled. Some of it is dependent on certain features being done in the first place so they can be made available in a subscription package. And other things is about juggling the right combination of capabilities for various tiers. And so the team is, again, actively working on it. We're lucky we'll get it out this year. I'm hopeful, but it has quite a few dependencies because we don't want to roll something out that has to have significant changes after the fact if we can help it. So it's a huge coordinated effort. But it'll come hopefully before the end of the year.
Great. Next batch of questions actually is around sort of general performance improvements with Second Life. Let's see. We'll start off with another one actually from Phantom Pixel, who asked that last question about premium membership as well. And their question is, are there any other ways that Linden Lab could implement a feature that would allow those of us with less powerful computers to be present in high mesh density regions without lagging out or crashing entirely? Would Linden Lab consider adding a complexity cap for mesh to prevent further overly complex and poorly designed mesh being uploaded into Second Life?
Well, we're always interested in ways to, well, for us to make the platform more performant in the first place. So there's a lot of work going on there. And then helping creators create more optimum content. But we also don't want to constrain creators too much as into what they can do. Ultimately, the success of any particular region is quite a bit up to the creator to create something that audiences like, and that includes. So you create a region experience that is too, causes too many performance issues, then those creators will probably have a challenge to convert and retain an audience within their creation. But maybe that's not critical to them. Maybe they prefer it to look that way or be built that way, and might not be ideal for most people. It's kind of like you go to slow websites and you leave them and you don't come back. You go to fast websites, you like them and you stick around. I think Google famously said that every few milliseconds of performance they could see, more searches and more attention on the search page. So they were crazily chasing every millisecond they could performance because they got return on that investment by having a more audience. So that's something creators should really think about. How users perceive the content they create. How do they stick around? Is engagement and retention like content they make? And that's important to them. They'll and to get the ideal experience and performance. But I think it should also be okay for creators to not have to worry about that if particular artistic expression or whatever it might be, and then they might not be ideal for all residents who step onto that region. But that's a creator choice. I don't know that it's our business to totally dictate what a creator can and cannot do as far as non-performant content. But the more we can do to be helpful to make it easier for creators to make the right decision, the better it would be. So that's where I'm interested in knowing how we can help creators better, help them make better content, basically.
A little bit of a follow-up question I think you tangentially sort of touched on here from Leviathan Flux. Basically, the gist of their question is kind of, I guess, why do we spend so much time development-wise or philosophically in our development process in sort of thinking about all of the backwards compatibility content involved with Second Life versus sort of charging forward with the latest and greatest to compete with other games, I think is the question that they were asking.
Yeah. Backwards compatibility is an extremely challenging problem that we've been very committed to in Second Life and also now in Sansar, because it's one thing to just have content sort of stop working over time and users go, well, I'll just go do something else then. But when you have an economy where people buy things and suddenly one day the things they purchased and are using stop working, it gets a little trickier. People are quite upset when things that they've paid money for suddenly stops working. So if we didn't have the economic model, then it would be easy for us to say, yeah, those things don't, or throw it or what have you. But with people spending real serious money for buyer to make themselves look great, or for their worlds they build to look great or function in a particular way, and we don't really have the option to have those things just degrade or stop functioning over time, because who is then responsible for the things that people bought that no longer work? Should people get their money back? Should they get it gets too complicated. So I think we can still progress where we can add new capabilities and features without having to break legacy content. Now we also get into sort of the core architecture of Second Life, and it's trying to achieve, we almost had two questions here that were almost at the opposite end. How do we get better performance on really old or low performing hardware, and at the same time how do we get like current graphic or capabilities of really modern game engines, etc. And those can be sort of pulling in the opposite directions. You're gonna have to try and figure out how to make it so that people can do new, beautiful, modern content, but at the same time not break the old stuff we're doing. This is kind of a ongoing challenge. Sansar, you can hop over there and check that out too. Sort of did take sort of a jump, sort of the game engine sort of being more modern when it comes to rendering of, but then you also do need higher end hardware for Sansar than you do Second Life. Stretching from the lowest to the highest end and making everybody happy along that spectrum within one platform is an incredible challenge. So yeah.
All right, got a couple of a little bit more highly technical questions or technical questions here. One from Lou Netizen. Basically asking about OpenGL. The question says that Apple plans to deprecate OpenGL in Mac OS 10.14 Mojave and remove it entirely in their future versions. That means currently designed SL viewers will stop working on the latest version of Mac OS in about a year. Does Linden Lab intend to support Apple's Metal 3D graphics framework and continue offering Macintosh computers?
Yeah, we want to continue to support Macs, and so we're in plenty of discussion of various technical solutions or paths to take. We also have to see what Apple really decides to do in the end. It's not just impacting us; it's impacting a lot of companies that are dependent on GL, and there's probably some fairly substantial investment that has to go into this, but we have full intent to not have this decision by Apple to walk away from OpenGL over time to be the end for us when it comes to the Mac users. We want to continue to support them. We just need to choose a technical path and get it done. That's our intent.
We have another question here from Thornell. I think this is one we've probably heard a few times. When will there be an official native Linux client again?
Yeah, this is a challenging one because it's such an extremely small percentage. It's well less than 1% of users on Linux. And obviously, if we had a great Linux viewer, it might be more, but it's still just such a very small user base, and with the resources having to work on so many things, this is not something we're actively working on right now. So, and there, we might need contributions from sort of the open source community to help us out here. So please contact Oz if you're interested in contributing, because right now we do not have the resources ourselves to actively work. So help and support to Linux client forward.
All right, so from the highly technical questions, we're going to slide into some questions around marketing and community stuff. So, a little bit from one subject to another. Fiona Line asked, I recently got some ads for joining SL while using other services. Already being in SL, those ads are kind of wasted on me. Did you, as Linden Lab, invested in targeting optimized ads? Because if you do, the target optimization sort of failed in her case, she felt. If you, however, just target casual online gamers, I greatly welcomed this idea to advertise Second Life.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes happening. We've hired some really awesome people in this area, and there's a lot of changes going on in performance marketing, acquisition efforts, both paid and efforts, bring more casual gamers into Second Life, appeal to more specific communities. So, how can we get more specific to, because there's so many different types of users in Second Life that are here for completely different reasons, just across geographies and markets, but also why they're here. Is it music? Is it art? Is it education? It's a little bit like doing marketing for a country, since someone might want to come to a country or all over the place. So we will continue to roll out more themed campaigns with included topics as diverse and specific as, maternity, playing, fashion, sci-fi role, virtual pets, LGBT and pride campaigns. So we're trying out all kinds of different campaigns and then really looking at data to understand how those perform. What's the cost of acquiring? What's the conversion? What's the retention? What's the monetization of these different campaigns? And we also can always do a better job of making sure that existing users get a completely different type of campaign, as was mentioned above. You shouldn't necessarily get a acquisition campaign, but maybe a re-engagement campaign, depending on how recent your action in Second Life has been. Maybe if you've been away for 6 months, we want to hit you with sort of a re-engagement campaign, or if you're a very active user, maybe we want to just make you aware of some cool events or opportunities for you to do things you haven't seen or tried or done before. So this is all a lot of nuance and a huge amount of data to work on, and we are actively improving sort of the data set that we're using to be able to make more size campaigns, and so I have very excited about the people working on this, and a lot of progress to be able to acquire more users at lower cost with better conversion and retention than we've had in the past. So very, very large effort here.
Great. Yes, I hear lots of conversations about this happening all the time, so some exciting stuff happening on that front. Drumera asked about, let's see, could you make a place for creators and bloggers to share their blogs so we don't have to use Flickr? I understand that we could use the community threads, but it would need to be probably different than it currently is.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading a couple of different things. So I don't think we're going to go and implement our own Flickr here, so that because people obviously are going to use all kinds of third-party services to distribute, whether it's images or blogs, and you should be able to use whatever platforms you prefer. There are some things we can do to help the community and to bring more attention to the content that you do create. And what we can do to help drive traffic to Second Life blogger community and sort of get a more connected network of created content blogs that help promote, explain Second Life. So we should have some more specific news on this initiative coming soon. So some exciting stuff being worked in this area.
Yes, I look forward to how that rolls out and when that rolls out, so stay tuned. We have about 12 minutes left, and we did want to open things up later for some additional open questions. So I'll try to move through everything here a little bit quickly on my end that we can get through from the submitted questions. And again, a reminder, those that we don't get to, we will be trying to address as many of those as we can. So I'm hopping over to some questions around Marketplace. AbFab Hacks was asking if there was a way that we could potentially separate out the gotchas, maybe give them their own tab and or category from regular Marketplace items. And also questions about sort of the mislabeling of tags or misuse of tags on Marketplace. If I'm searching for makeup, items for dogs should not be popping up there.
Yeah, to address the latter part first, this is kind of like an ongoing, challenge with user-created content and user-created tagging of content. Some creators selling stuff get a little liberal in the use of tags to promote their content, and sometimes those tags are not completely relevant to the content they're doing. There's probably all kinds of interesting statistics we could use over time to see what tags creates what search results, and then what click-through rate or buy rates, and then we could maybe see that certain tags against certain items are deemed not relevant, and then figure out a way to eliminate those tags or what have you. It's because humans validating tags would be very costly. It's just over 5 million items in the marketplace. So much stuff being added every day and changed every day. It's a huge task. It could be more logic, maybe understanding what tags might be relevant categories or etc. to help us more efficient it is. But we are a bit at the mercy of sort of playing by the rules here. So that's kind of like spam. Like, how do you prevent it? There's always people finding ways around it. So it's kind of like a never-ending battle. Gotchas. It's a very popular way of distributing content in Second Life. So it obviously will be big on the marketplace, and whether we can sort of more clearly identify them or categorize them or some way, I don't know personally right now if there's anything that would help us do that, but it's, some people are very much looking for those, and so it might make sense to separate them out in some way or where they are. So, but I don't personally know for sure to Rumpety and gang to speak more.
All right, and just a general question, and I'll pop some links also into local that mentions some of the stuff here, but Loki Elliott was asking sort of just for, what exactly are our future plans for the SL marketplace?
Yeah, so some of them have been detailed, some of the work ongoing have been detailed in the Merchants Forum, so keep an eye out there, but there are upcoming changes, including things like wish lists, favorite sellers, listing variants, cleanup of listings cruft. There's some jobs we need to run to find stuff that are not quality or not being selling or been abandoned and stuff like that. So there's cleanup we can do. And there's more to come, and we talk about this quite often at the web users group, so it's another place that if you're interested in what join and heard and hear more about plans. But we're excited that we have dedicated resources to continuously improve.
All right, so just a few minutes left. I'm going to try to go through some questions here, a couple of different ones around. We had a lot of new feature requests that weren't necessarily question related, but we will definitely try to again address those in the forum thread as we can. There was a question I thought that was a little interesting around sort of the future transparency on economic data that came in from Procfi and asking about would we consider restoring the public economic information that we once published years ago. That would mean the number of unique 30-day logins and repeat logins, the number of avatars who own land, number of avatars who have spent varying amounts in world from 1 Linden to 100,000 Linden and so on.
Yeah, we've been restoring some of the public information sources, and probably won't restore all of them. I want to make, I'm excited to provide information that helps creators run successful businesses. Sort of the general high-level data. I mean, we're a private company. We're in competition, and some of this information is maybe not something that is in our or therefore any of our best interest to reveal. Some of it is also maybe difficult to make sure that it's accurate. So once we start releasing information, we want to make sure it's correct. Most people don't really care, so don't want to put too much effort into revealing stuff that take too much effort to do correctly. But yeah, I'm all for transparency, especially if it helps creators make intelligent decisions. So I don't know. It's a balancing act. I wouldn't say we would give everybody access to our sort of data warehouse services, so you can ask all kinds of data questions about everything going on. So there's a limit at some point, and if there's specific questions you need to successfully run your business, I'd love to hear about those and what we can do to help you be able to do that.
All right, Josh, our woodrunner, had a question sort of about ongoing communication with Linden's. Is there a way, perhaps through occasional scheduled office hours, to get direct access to business staff who would be able to explain the rationale for a business process to someone who is concerned about it and have a brief discussion?
Yeah, so there's hundreds of thousands of you, and there's a couple of us. So sort of for all of you to be able to sit down and have private conversation with our staff here, who are incredibly busy delivering value, is hard. But there are a number of places where we do meet in world. There are where people can ask questions, but it's not like we can get to every question or have a private conversation with every person who would like to. But there's a link here that maybe can be posted in the forum. I think Zola, you did already. That links to the office hours for the various Linden Lab user groups that we have. So participate in those, and we do what we can. But again, the ratio of residents to Linden Lab employees just makes it very hard to do all what you want at all times as far as interaction goes. But we love meeting with you all and talking to you all, and so yeah, join those user groups, and if it makes sense to have more of them or different ones, we'd love to hear about it.
Great. I think that wraps up the submitted questions portion for today. Again, I apologize. I know we weren't able to get to everyone's question. I don't even think we got to all the ones I had down here, but we do want to open things up to open questions. And again, visit the forum thread after this, and we'll have Linden's in there answering questions. That thread is locked, meaning you won't be able to add some additional questions on there, but of course we'll open a new one similar to that when we do another one of these going forward. So thanks again for everybody for all of your questions. We know that we didn't get to them all again. Definitely, again, keep an eye on those forums. In the meantime, we're going to open things up to casual Q&A. We've got a little bit of time with Ebbe to ask some additional questions from the audience. But I do ask a couple of things, that you ask one question at a time, and that due to limited time, that you please keep your question brief and ask one question. I know we're fans of multiple point questions, but we'll try to get as many as we can. I know last time some people felt they didn't get an opportunity to voice their question as well. So with that said, I believe mic should be open. Ebbe, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, can I ask my question first? Is that okay? Can
It sounds like it.
Okay. So my question is does Linden Labs ever have any plans to kind of further update LSL and maybe bring it in line with other kind of more fluid languages? Like, I've been playing around a lot in Swift, and Swift is such a beautiful language to learn. It's got a simplified syntax, and it'd be much easier for kind of beginner scripters. Does Linden Labs ever have plans to create like that, like in LSL too?
We don't have any plans at the moment. I don't even know how big of an effort it would be to change the LSL core scripting language. I think Oz would be a better person to talk to about that. I have not heard of any plans of doing so. For Sansar, we took a slightly different path. We chose to use C# as the language, and so you can use C#, which is one of the most commonly used languages used on the planet, whereas Linden LSL is kind of our own homebrew, which has some advantages and some disadvantages in that it doesn't necessarily have some of the common language features you would expect or what have you. So I think it would be very difficult for us to, my guess is it would be difficult for us to provide suddenly a more modern language against our API. But again, Oz would be the right person to talk to.
Yeah, I also would have a question. What about bringing back the 24-hour support? We had that support a few years ago, but now they always got reduced, and Europeans, for example, have only a short chance to reach the support.
Zola, did you catch that one?
Yes, that was coming. Believe that was coming from Thomas Miller or Miller Thor. There, their question was sort of about the hours of support and how there currently is a limited portion of time or overlap between when our support hours are and when sort of European folks are able to get in contact with them. So, would we consider returning back to sort of a 24-hour support?
Yeah, we're currently not considering going to 24-hour support. I mean, it's a matter of cost, of course. Again, this would be a question for Patch. We're trying to find the optimum, how we could handle the volume, where the volume is coming from, and having staff for all kinds of languages at all kinds of geographic time zones, it can become really costly. So, and we do follow sort of best industry practices for other global companies, and much bigger companies than us that can't offer that level of sort of geographic, linguistic, time-optimized support. So unfortunately, it's kind of a cost challenge, and I don't think if we were to offer it that you would be willing or able to pay for that service, if you will. So so that's, hopefully we'll grow and grow and grow, and we'll reach a point where an investment like that would make sense, but not at the moment.
Let's see. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Can I sit on your couch and take a picture with
Yeah, maybe when we're done with the Q&A, we can mingle.
Okay.
I do see some questions people are typing into chat. Let me see here from Zen. Would you consider another premium tier with enhanced support?
I don't know the details as to whether different types of support levels it'd be a question for Grumpity, I think, as to whether we are considering other types of support levels as part of our premium subscription solutions, but possibly. I mean, we do it today already, right? You subscribe, you get access to more immediate direct service than if you're a non-subscriber. So, yeah.
Melina Dahl was asking about let's see, are there any plans for changes or improvements on experience keys?
I haven't heard, but I mean, I think exposing grid-wide stuff using experience. I don't know what I would need to, or the team I think would need to hear what specifically you would want done with regards to experience keys. So I don't know of any specific effort underway to make improvements there, but we can follow up in the forum on experience keys. It all depends on what the specific question is.
Yeah, I see a lot of... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Definitely looking at some experience keys changes. Stay tuned for details.
All right.
Thanks, Grumpity. I was about to say, a lot of the questions that are being asked in chat are, I think, probably great questions for Grumpity and Oz. I feel like I say that a lot, but it's true. And maybe I can...
Yeah, once you get very... Yeah, the more specific you get, the more you lose me. Because there's just so many details that I can't be right on top of. But
yeah.
But Grumpity and Oz and Pat sure are.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do another one of these, and maybe, like I said, convince them to come answer your questions again. Does anybody else have questions in voice that they wanted to ask now?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a lighthearted question. I was just curious, considering anonymity, do you guys personally use Second Life, or is it strictly just a working environment?
Oh, Ebbe, do you want to take that, or?
Yeah, I use it occasionally. Most of the time, for both Second Life and Sansar, I barely have time to use it like a proper user would. My 10-hour days are filled with work that doesn't give me as much time. Sansar, I show up most, not all, but most Saturdays and hang out for a couple hours with people. Second Life, I drop in now and then and cruise around and just get inspired and awed by all the incredible stuff you all do. And occasionally there are working sessions, meetings, etc., that we do for work purposes. So personally, it's really challenging for me to find time to do my job and be like a proper full-time user of the product at the same time. So I'm more of a test user, sample user, to sort of understand, but I don't have time to constantly craft and build my own content and stuff like that, which is a bummer. But it's time prioritization.
All right. Well, I guess now would be a good time, Ebbe. I wanted to check in on your availability time-wise, how we're doing. If we wanted to take a few more questions from the audience in voice.
One thing maybe I could say to the previous question, like one thing that makes a huge difference for me is virtual reality. The difference between looking at the 3D world on a 2D screen versus being inside the world is a huge difference for me. I wish we could have VR working in Second Life, but it's just a challenge that proved too hard to solve for. And so I tend to spend, I would say 99% of my time in Sansar, for example, is in VR. I just have a huge preference for being in the world versus looking at the world. And that's just, it's a personal preference. So that would be that's like the killer feature for me. All right.
That's a very quiet group this morning. Definitely use voice. There you go.
Why don't you guys? Do you guys have any interest in updating the default viewer? Because it's pretty terrible. Maybe just hire Firestorm to do it for you. Also, an option to just hide the default SL body would be cool, since most people alpha it out anyway.
Well, Firestorm is doing a great job. I think the various viewers are trying to have different intent for different types of audiences, for different purposes, which is great about being an open source viewer, because we can have lots of different users targeting different users for different reasons. And as far as the default avatar, I wasn't sure I fully understand what it meant by hiding it.
Well, it's just everyone wears alpha layer to basically hide out their mesh body, or the default body, and they just wear like mesh bodies. So everyone's basically wearing and rendering all these invisible polygons for no reason. And I guess some people still might want to use it, but so you could leave it there. But I mean, if there's an option just to like click and
yeah, I guess like it would be, you know, if you can make more performant. So let's see, Grumpy says we have projects on the roadmap next year to work on something related to that. So more to come from Grumpy on.
What about attachment points? Are we ever going to have more than 46 or 38 or whatever it is?
Yes, we need a lot of attachment
Possibly. Again, something for Grumpy to speak to.
As soon as we can make you stop losing those attachments on region crossing.
A few more sliders for appearance mode, maybe.
So there may be increases in attachment point. It might be relative to your subscription plan, for example. We'll see. So.
All right. Well, that said, I think if anybody has any other last-minute voice questions they wanted to give, all right, there you go.
Are you guys going to bring back last names? I heard some talk about that before, and I was wondering if that's still going to happen.
Yeah,
I
we
missed it. I'm sorry.
We covered that up front. Yeah, it's in the plans. Hopefully before the end of the year, but it might spill into next year. But it's being worked on.
Got a question.
Yeah.
What is the current status of Animesh and FlexiMesh, and are we going to be seeing them anytime soon?
Yes, that was also covered up front. Animesh is right around the corner. It's grid wide on the server side, and it's a few, must fix bugs away from being able to be rolled out in some sort of, beta mode on the viewers, and so hopefully it can be grid wide in server and client within a month or so. It's getting really close. It now all depends on what last minute bugs gets found and how long it takes to fix them. But we're down to sort of single digit bugs that must be fixed.
And what about EP?
Yeah, that's also very close, within weeks. So hopefully within a month or two again, we'll start seeing.
Do you have any plans to reduce lag, and we'll move into the cloud, reduce lag in and of itself?
I already talked about that too.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about prim size increasing yet? Because we have the wonderful, you did already?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened?
So, well,
you
showed up late. Well, we did discuss whether we can have, increased prim count on regions.
No, not prim count.
Prim size, like 64
meters
is the limit now.
At the moment, we can only do 64 times 64.
I don't have.
It's a great step by lowering the price of mainland and giving us more prims. But as builders, no, it is not. Have you tried trying to build a full sim and then being told that you got to cut it into small, tiny pieces and then try to put those tiny pieces together when you're blind? It's awful.
It used to be 10 by 10. It's got significantly larger.
Life is being billed as the greatest thing since sliced cheese. And then you get like, oh, well, I can bring everything in on OpenSim. How come I can't bring it in on Second Life? And we used to be able to do such a...
Yeah, I personally don't. I have no idea what it would take and if it's in the plans to increase print size. So, heard you. The team heard you.
Another premium account, if it means, even if you put it as a premium feature for building or something.
Okay.
But I understand the lag or something it may cause, or even if you can let us do it without collisions, I'll be willing to build phantom items and put in a bunch of invisiprims, for heaven's sake, if it means I didn't have to keep chopping up stuff. Yeah, just to
Okay.
try to build it in.
Heard you. Gotcha. Don't know. So don't know how common of a need that is. I clearly hear you.
Alright, I know you guys
So,
are like
yep.
up there on the mount in this Olympus, but that is such a big problem with Second Life builders now when we're trying to build in a bunch of things, especially those who build large sims or something like that, that we have to bring everything in piece by piece by piece by piece and then try to line it up. You got to hire a whole team of builders just to get your stuff done, something that you can do on your own. You got to hire a builder to come in, like somebody to build something, and then you got to hire somebody to arrange your stuff in world, because you can't line it up right, or it shifts slightly when you're doing the import.
Yeah.
Even if something that's big, like restoring your old builds you had with IX1, it's just such a pain. Sorry. I just really hope that you guys can notice that is something.
Okay.
Well, that's you. I mean,
Somebody get her some water.
A bunch of small builders and legacy builders and people like that who are shifting over the mesh and want to do other things, but we gotta have a lot of time.
Maybe just say we're looking into it and we'll work on it.
Well, yeah. I just personally, I have no clue what the limitations are, what can do. But the team has heard your question and a request, and we'll find out what we can do about it.
All right,
Okay.
I think we are ready to wrap up for the day. Again, thanks all for your questions. We'll definitely be addressing more of those in the forums. And that is it. Thanks again. Thanks for your time, Ebbe.
Thank you. Floating away.
How tone deaf is that? Ew. Jeez. Oops, wait. Microphone. Yay, thank you for having us. Clap, 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 clap.
Hey Zero, I love your tutorials. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Thank you. It was very informative.